let's close this up with college football playoff talk. I just want to say this about college football playoff. To all y'all niggas out there complaining about how they pick teams, stop it. The BCS was trash, okay? Now, I think they got the right teams. Seeding up for debate, but I think that they picked the best 12 teams in this first iteration of the college football playoffs. Everybody, when the BCS said they were complaining about, oh, this is not the right way to pick playoff teams. Then we get a playoff, it's either it's too many teams or certain teams should be in it. I'm glad Bama didn't make it. It's a great day that Bama didn't make it. They had no business making it. With some of the losses they took, I'm a Miami fan. Once I saw them niggas lose to Kansas, I was like, no. And even other wins they got, the last minute win they got earlier, they should have not been in the playoffs either. I think they picked the best 12. So let's go over that. The 4 seeds, which get a first round bye. Oregon finishes number 1. They'll be playing in the Rose Bowl. Georgia, we finished in number 2. They just beat Texas this weekend. They'll be playing in the Sugar Bowl. We don't know who's going to be playing. Look like Carson Beck is going to be out. That arm did not look right, and they even had shot him telling one of the other players that it's bad, bro. So I don't think he's going to play. Who knows? Third seed, Boise State. They're going to play in the Fiesta Bowl. And, of course, 4th seed, Courtney's Arizona State. And they'll be playing in the Peach Bowl. Now, before we get to the first round matchups, people actually going to be playing in the first round, y'all got any problems with the way the first 4 teams will rank? Go ahead, Courtney.
I don't necessarily have, how I feel about Boise State in the Mountain West. I'm sorry. It's a fucking joke. You're not going to tell me that the Mountain West is somehow a better conference than even the ACC or the Big 12. When did that happen? I'm asking. This is a
never.
When the fuck did that happen?
Never.
Oh, well, they almost beat Oregon, but they didn't.
They didn't, yeah.
Because how many teams did they almost lose to? Like getting into these arguments, it's so silly. I think, listen, I agree with you. Bama had no business in this playoff, but there are a lot of mistakes in how they handled it. Honestly, this new setup, it's not great. And I imagine that it will change again here within the next 2 years. I give it 2 years before they change it again.
What do you think they're going to change?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I think we're going to the same spot.
I think they might change the automatic conference championship, the first 4. I think they're going to change that. One, because it doesn't make sense. You have multiple power conferences, right? How do you decide which 4 are the first that are going to get in? Like that's kind of weird. And then when you try to like dissect, what criteria they use and how they apply it, it changes team by team. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Also, I think we're putting a tremendous amount of weight on these conference championship games because we're keeping it a buck. I know I got the cup. It's a great little mug, but SMU ain't got no business in this fucking playoff. You don't get to lose your conference. I don't care if you went to the conference championship game. At that point, now you're 11-2. That's still a loss. You still have a loss. It's still a loss. I feel like I'm fucking crazy because they're like, oh, well, you made the conference championship game, so that's the rope. Just for making it, what are you fucking? You lose they lost the game.
I think it's in the fashion that they lost it. If they would have just gotten smoked, I think it would have been a little bit of a different data point, and maybe you would have had a different conversation. But even then, fans, Miami fans, y'all can't say shit. Y'all got to just shut the fuck up because if y'all would have beat Syracuse, right, you have to be salty because if you would have beat Syracuse and gone to the ACC championship and lost, you would have got in. You would have got in.
But may I interject? They lost to an 8-3 Syracuse team.
Very true.
Again, by all intents and purposes, a very good Syracuse team, especially if we're trying to weight these wins.
Right. Syracuse loss was unacceptable. The Kansas loss was unacceptable.
Teams that they beat this season that were ranked was UNLV twice. UNLV fucking sucks. UNLV sucks, as seen by the performance that they put on in the Mountain West Championship game. I'm just saying. I think the system still, it's almost like they're trying to hold on, because I mean that's college sports as a whole. You're trying to hold on to these antiquated beliefs and systems while also trying to integrate it with the new
stuff.
And also still appease. And you can't make everybody happy. And I think they're trying to do that after they pissed off the ACC last year and shafted Florida State, and it's almost like a big makeup call.
I think they need to find a way to incentivize the number 1 seed, because if you look at this bracket,
Oregon
what does Oregon get for being the number 1 seed and being the best team, over the last 2 months in college? They get to play the winner
from hell.
They get to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee, and if they somehow get through that, they're getting either Texan or Clemson. Not to shit on your Arizona State Sun Devils, but maybe, so you got to go through Ohio State, probably Texas, and like the one that's sitting pretty to me, and this has stood out since I've seen it, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is in a prime position to.
And they don't got no fucking business in this bitch either. They don't play a conference championship game, and you lost to the Northern Illinois Huskies at home, who, if I'm not mistaken, finished 7th in the fucking MAC.
But they lost in September, and from when they lost in September, they literally steamrolled everybody, minus the USC game. That was a touchdown game, and that it's just. With this, it's all, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, because they trying to act like they care about your schedule, but they don't at the same time. And I think that's
you beat Texas A&M early in the season, right?
First week.
If we're gonna get into that recency bias thing, you beat Notre Dame, Texas A&M earlier in the season. You beat Louisville, which they didn't count that as a good win for some of these ACC teams. They don't count it as a good win for Miami, and they didn't when they were factoring that in. And you beat USC, who did they finish the season 6-6? How is that a good win? Just because of the brand, off the strength of the brand? That's crazy.
I think it's also just the other teams that shit the bed in between. Alabama shit the bed. Miami shit the bed. Who's another team that was left out?
South Carolina, Ole Miss.
South Carolina, Ole Miss. But Ole Miss, terrible losses to Kentucky, terrible loss to so it's all to Florida. Yeah, and Florida. Why, you should have just started lag away from the beginning.
But Ole Miss also beat Georgia, so you get into this sort of ticky-tacky thing. But again, and I absolutely wholeheartedly believe we should not have 3 lost teams in the playoff. But you cannot, not you personally, but you cannot tell me that a 2-loss ACC team is somehow better than some of these 3-loss SEC teams.
But I think that's also
what this is supposed to be about.
But I think it's also what you said was the first year or two is going to be a little clunky because they're still trying to figure it out. But I do think there's some things that might be in. I agree with you on 3-loss thing, but for the most part, I think the process is a little clunky. But I don't really have too much of a problem with the teams that actually made it. Bang, what's your thoughts on the process and the 12 teams that actually made the playoffs?
I don't think there's going to ever be a perfect way of determining who's the national champion. Just don't. When I was younger, shut up, Orlando. When I was younger, it was like, who was ever the number 1 team in the nation at the end of the year, the AP joint. Then you had the coaches poll, so you had like a national champion and a national champion there at the end of BCS, which tried, and then you had the small playoff, and then you have this right now. And even with this, you got people complaining because I'm with Courtney. If you don't win especially if that's the rules, if you don't win your conference, well, why are we talking? I don't give a damn about a strength of schedule if you ain't cleared out your division. So I don't think it would be ever be a perfect way of determining who's going to be the national champion, because everybody is going going to complain about it. Hell, SEC, Big Ten, if y'all want to create your own super conference and have y'all own champion, that's cool. But again, I don't think it's a perfect way for you to pick who is a national champion. With that being,
remember when the Big 12 used to be the Big 8.
Actually,
He said, actually,
yeah.
that's correct.
I remember the game of the first Big 12 championship game. Texas won that. Yeah, I remember that.
I'm sorry.
Hey, she asked me, was I old enough to vote in Kerry versus Bush?
That's crazy.
I'm still not over that. I ain't that old.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I'm sorry.
I was a freshman in high school.
With that being said,
Max out the sophomore. I take the out the sophomore. That was 2004.
With that being said, I like the matchup.
In 2004?
Out the sophomore. That was 04, 05. I was sophomore.
You were a sophomore?
Okay, relax on me. Yes, I started high school September 2003. Yes, I was in high school when the Black Album came out. Leave me alone.
Same.
Yeah, bro. I'm pretty sure I was in elementary school. Like,
yeah, Nikhil wasn't born. Nikhil, our producer, wasn't born.
That's
in
crazy.
2003, I had a wallet full of them cards, if you know what I mean, bang.
Nigga,
I was out there snatching them. I was out there snatching up them V's.
I had rubber bands on my Jabot jeans because I thought I was T.I. I had rubber bands on my jeans and I had on my wrist. They sell no drugs.
I definitely had rubber bands on my jeans at my 8th grade graduation party.
Shout out to Jabot.
That's gonna have to be like my new qualifying question. Like, where were you and do you remember 9/11? Like that's
100%.
I can tell you what I ate on 9/11.
If you want to
remember
on 9/11, you can't have a conversation.
I actually went to school that day, and my little brother's still home, and I remember being pissed, like, why is he staying home and I'm going to school?
We went to school.
We didn't get sent home, but that's when I knew my brother was my mom's favorite.
This is sounds messed up. The only thought I had was I was wondering why my cousin couldn't take me to go get the blueprint. I was like, this not even happening in Chicago. What does guy do with me? This was the mind of a 13-year-old. That was happening. But
nah, Nikhil, you better be joking, bro.
Yeah, Nikhil. That's funny. That's funny. But let's talk about the actual last 18, the final matchups as we close this up. So the first round matchups, you got number 5 Texas. You didn't have a pair of G units. G units came out 2003 or they came out 04?
Yeah, like 04. I had them too. Shout out to the hip. I got them at the hip. My uncle took me one of his side pieces, the first ones.
Yeah, I had the S-Dots too. Remember the commercial with Home 50? I'm so right now. But anyway, the first round matchups, you got number 5 Texas taking on number 12 Clemson. You got number 6 Penn State taking on 11 SMU. You got number 7 Notre Dame taking on number 10 Indiana, and you got number 8 Ohio State versus number 9 Tennessee. Now, all of these games will be actual home games for the higher seed. So this first time you have playoff games at a non-neutral site. I think that's going to be a dope element to see. The game that kind of stands out to me, I think, is really Notre Dame Indiana. I think Notre Dame's in a good spot, but I think that's going to be an ugly football game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. That's going to be one of them ugly defensive type games. But I also am interested to see Ohio State versus Tennessee at the same time because I did not like how Ohio State finished into that season. Courtney, what you think about these 4 matchups? Which one stands out to you? We're not going to pick winners yet because we still got almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But what stands out to you?
The most interesting one to me that I'm most excited for is Ohio State, Tennessee. That's going to be a great game. I don't really care about the Indiana Bowl. That don't move me, mainly because Notre Dame doesn't move me. That program, again, kind of like I said earlier, about you off the brand alone is why they're involved in this discussion. But yeah, Texas Clemson in Austin, that's elite football. That's the one thing that this playoff got right, because those are going to be some great football games. Shit, actually, what day is that game on?
I think it's December 21st.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah, because oh yeah, that's right before I got my little vacation. Shit. Don't let me end up in Austin. And do some self-scouting to see, send Coach Dillingham. This is what the boys this is what the opposition
looking like. Mikey, which
some great games.
Which matchup stands out to you out of these four?
Friday, December 20th, Indiana versus Notre Dame. Being that we're here in the Midwest, I will find my way to a local Notre Dame bar just to kind of be around the vibes. I'm gonna treat that like how us Puerto Rican and Black folks, we treat St. Patty's Day. We got nothing to do with it, but I want to be around the energy.
We're gonna be a part of it, right? Yeah.
I will be there. So that game for sure, just because of the local Midwest ties. And I think that'll actually be a pretty high scoring affair. The game for me that I'm most interested in, obviously, is going to be Ohio State, Tennessee. I think Texas is going to dog walk Clemson. I think Penn State is going to do SMU dirty. So the 8 and 9 and the 7 and 10 game have potential to be really good games. Shout out to the games being on a Friday night. I got to see the full schedule, but I'm very interested in this, and I will be gambling on some of these games. I got to see the spreads on these shits. Bang, we got to cook up one.
Yeah. I'm gonna follow your lead though. I like these matchups. It's gonna be very interesting. I don't really foresee a lot of blowouts like that, because it's a little bit different when now you're going into places that you ain't used to going. So that's what and then plus, for the last couple of years, you're normally breaking to chill out and then practice for a bowl game. They getting right to it. But let me see. Out of all of the
it's kind of crazy. No, just to say, man, like I'm looking at it right now. Every road team is a touchdown underdog or more. Indiana is a 7.5 point dog. SMU is an 8.5 point dog. Clemson is an 11 point dog, and Tennessee is a 7.5 point dog. And I wonder what it would have been on a neutral field.
Yeah,
right, and
probably a field goal.
Probably
couple fives, couple 4.5s.
But I'm interested. If I look at all of the matchups from a state standpoint, I do love the Notre Dame Indiana game, but Ohio State versus Tennessee, I am very interested in, just to see if Tennessee, in this position, with everything that's been going on, just a revitalization of the program and stuff. I want to see if they could take Ohio State out. And being that I hate Ohio State, I need them to take them out.
So cool. Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news, money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not